Hello and welcome to the Fortunate Events podcast series brought to you by the Supply Chain and Logistics Summit. Today we will be having a conversation with one of our silver sponsors, Resilience 360, company at forefront of helping organizations mitigate climate risk through advanced AI powers. Joining us is Samhita, CEO of Resilience, who will be sharing valuable insights into how climate impacts supply chains and how Resilience 360 is empowering industry to build resilience and thrive in volatile environment. Welcome, Samhita. Great to have you here. Before getting in, let's hear a short, brief introduction about yourself, about your company that I have not mentioned.
Thank you so much for having us, and thank you to Fortinas for organizing an event of such scale. Supply chain and climate both are intentional conversations without which I believe that we will have a severe disruption to the economy. So my name is Samhita. I'm the co-founder and CEO of Resilience AI. Resilience AI is in a mission to prepare the 60% unaccounted assets, lives, and people for climate events such as heat, cyclone, flood, and thereby be able to protect them when their nature is not kind. We have a single vision. We are building resilience at every step, and we are starting off with climate as a conversation. The flagship product, which is Resilience 360, is a unique platform where you can manage, comply, and measure climate risk, and at the same time be able to seamlessly plug and play this to be able to solve your supply chain at a plant level, and at the same time use the entire software to solve for your organizational supply chain resilience at a headquarter level or multiple plants and multiple facilities taken together. It's advanced technology, and we are looking forward to talk about it as we interact with you.
That's interesting. I would like to learn the thought process. So, what was the turning point? Like, what triggered to have this, to found a company that helps out with climate changes?
So it has been a journey. The founders is a mix of individuals who have served frontline disasters, who have worked in climate, who have worked in sustainability. And when I say frontline disasters and worked in climate and sustainability, these are all three different topics. Climate is the overall universe. Sustainability is a portion of it, and so is disasters or natural disasters. There have been times when we have worked in the remote locations of countries, especially after cyclone, after heat wave, after a massive flood, and unprecedented rainfall. And during those occasions, what we have seen with our eyes is overnight industries disappeared. The most hit industries is actually the supply chain heavy industries, such as textile. For example, in Bangladesh, textile industry is a very heavy supply chain industry.
Correct.
And when there is Cyclone Yas, it's the first industry that gets impacted. So when we saw the premise from the lens of climate not just being carbon emission as a conversation, but the impact that happens when the event happens at the level of a business, at the level of lives, and at the level of assets. It's not just people's houses which get impacted. It is also the premises where you work, the schools, institutions, for that matter, any structure is left exposed when there is a climate event. After we have worked for 30 years in this industry, what we realized is we can see a building with our naked eye and be able to tell whether it will stand or not when there is a flood.
That's impressive.
But the problem is that this experience lies in our minds.
Okay, fair enough.
You can't have experts everywhere. So it is heavily human dependent. It should be democratized. It should be accessible to not just governments or companies, but everybody who operates on Earth as a climate agent and is running their lives either as operators of buildings or operators of management or operators of supply chain. But everybody should have access to a solve. And that's when we started using technology.
You said disruptions, right? What kind of disruptions? Transportation, sourcing, manufacturing. Where do you guys come in and super important?
Okay. So the conversation about nature is such that it impacts every industry.
Okay.
It is very difficult for us to pin down on one industry which has not got impacted. And this comes from a place of exposure to the industries. For example, I have worked in building automation, renewable energy, in the government sector. And if I have to pause and tell you, agriculture gets as much impacted as an institution or a school. A city gets as impacted as the home in which an individual lives in. Similarly, a plant gets as impacted as the headquarter facility very far away from the plant. All kinds of structures are disrupted. The final output that you see is shutdown of plants, production losses, unoptimized processes. But that's an effect of what happens when structures are not available for operations anymore.
Thank you for that. Now let's talk about Resilience 360. Where do you guys come in? Like, how does your platform help mitigate this risk and ensure it runs seamlessly? Like, let's
Fantastic.
like walk us through the core features and then like how it works in practice. Tell us about that.
Perfect. So all these disruptions, we use a single word which is called climate risk.
Okay.
In the world of climate, it is also called physical risk, which is the risk that exposes your assets, makes people working or operating inside those assets vulnerable. It's a very simple definition. What the product 360 Resilience 360 does is offers you three-step solution. It helps you measure the risk. You got to know how severe is the risk when flood happens at your plant and your plant surrounding.
Yeah, knowing it beforehand, right?
Correct.
Okay.
Knowing the exposure of your risk, and you need to know it in a very simple way and in very fast pace. In a simple way, because climate is complex, you don't want to get bothered by the climate science parameters. You don't want to get bothered by scientific jargons. You want to know just as simple as, I have a plant in Qatar. Tell me, do I have a high risk, moderate risk, low risk? And I need to know it before the event happens. And I need to know it in 8 hours. I will give you a latitude, longitude of my plant. Can you give it to me in 8 hours? I don't have time to wait for 9 to 12 months.
I see. So instead of taking a whole time to process, what Resilience would do is shorten it up in 8 hours. That's cool.
Correct. You can give us any latitude, longitude of any plant, any retail center, any office, any shop, any structure which is a 2x2. And we will generate the severity of risk and without complicating or giving you information overload in 8 hours.
Wow, this is pretty impressive, combining this power and supply chain and putting two and two together. So, okay,
True.
if I were to rephrase it, meaning moving forward, clients would know if this place is safe enough to have a plant.
True.
Interesting. Okay.
It is, let's say you already have a structure. You have invested more than $5 million in building the first plant. You can't uproot your structure.
Okay.
So if I give you a measurement of risk in a simple way, faster turnaround time, what you can do is our next model. After measuring risk, you can not just comply, but you can plan.
Yeah.
You can have sustainable architecture designs, which is a redevelopment. You can ramp up your structures in your surrounding so that if it has a heat exposure, can you bring down the indoor room temperature in a particular way? You don't have to uproot your buildings,
but work around what you
work around with innovative solutions, which is structural, built environment. There are a lot of such solutions. So you get a chance to plan. The other thing you also get to do is you get to know about your plant in 8 hours, but you get to know about your organization's climate health. It's like doing a regular blood check, regular health check. You need to do a climate health check of your organization. Problem in the world is there are so many frameworks. There are so many standards. It's complex.
But not
we
one.
decoded it.
Oh.
There is one index. So you don't just know your physical risk at an asset level. You need to know your climate health at an organization level so that you can design your supply chain. Supply chain is not just a plant operations. It's production to point of sale.
That's cool.
And it's a whole lot of activities that happens when you do or you design your production at the plant. You make packaging. You take it to the warehouse, you have logistics in between, you have retailers, stockists, and then it comes to us. And each of these points have to be secure, which means it is an organization decision and an organization activity. So I urge supply chain heavy industries to invite us, and we are ready to take a 100 days challenge. We are willing to do that 100 days challenge with any company anywhere in the world.
Has this worked before? Like, do you have a case study with us? The 100 days challenge. Let's hear one or two.
Okay. So we have not done a 100 days challenge with the corporate organizations,
Okay.
but the model is built in such a way that it has been run with customers in 30 cities across India.
Wow. 36.
Correct.
That's huge.
That's huge. And
Okay.
India is the most complicated and dynamic topography
Mm.
when it comes to the type of buildings, mostly in countries like North America
Definitely.
or Europe, you will see structures which are more well defined, lesser customization. But if your model, and that is the power of Resilience 360, is running at 96% accuracy in a country like India, where there are more than 14 types of structures that has been labeled, you can take the model and make it replicable anywhere in the world.
I see. So if it were to work in India, all I can do is like copy and paste in other world. Do I have to change the other factors?
No,
No.
you do not have to at all.
Wow.
The model has a machine learning, it's a language model in itself, which means all we need is give us an exposure to which building do you want us to give you a risk measurement, which organization in the world do you want us to tackle, and we will roll out the model for you or roll out the software for you. The last piece is extremely unique, which I want to bring to light. We now measure, we have complied and planned for you.
Okay.
We manage.
Okay.
Most of the climate tools that are there in the world give you a risk assessment and
That's it.
disappear.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
The question that we are trying to solve and we have solved with our product is, so what? What do I do if I'm a CFO of a company? What do I do if I'm a general manager supply chain or the chief supply chain officer of the company? I have to take actions and I have to monitor the results of those actions. And that is the last piece of the puzzle of Resilience 360, where we say we help you manage the risk with an automated action plan. It's fully digital, and right now it is in the design stage. We are making a launch of it in September.
In September.
It is based on 28 real-time disaster plans that we as founders have worked on. We are bringing that knowledge and automated that for companies and governments.
It's cool. That's I'm mind blown.
Thank you.
Mind blown. Before we wrap up, let's hear one piece of advice that you would give to businesses looking to build resilience in their supply chain. What would you tell them?
I would say don't wait for the climate event to happen. For example, the floods that has happened in Dubai most recently, the airport shut down. Florida, 2 days of ice shut down. Heavy snowfall, never expected. So don't wait any longer, because all the time series models and all weather forecasts are no longer turning out to be true, and your business is exposed. So act now.
Act now, yes. Do not wait. Act now.
And act with technology rather than just depending on manual efforts. I would say, if I have to give that last line, human-assisted technology like Resilience 360 is a fast, reliable, and most easily usable solution. And it is there. So why not use it?
You don't have to crack your head anymore. It's just that all you have to do is apply it and use it.
Correct.
Interesting. All right. Thank you so much for today, Samhita, for sharing these incredible insights. I'm sure our listeners would hear them and be as mind blown as me too. And it's also clear that Resilience 360 is paving the way for a more resilient, climate prepared future for business across the industry. And to our listeners, do not miss the chance to learn more about Resilience 360 at the Supply Chain and Logistics Summit Middle East on 4th and 5th February in Dubai. Looking forward to seeing you guys there. Thank you so much for today, Samhita. Appreciate your time.
And that would be all for today's episode. If you enjoyed this conversation, don't forget to subscribe to our podcast and stay tuned for more exciting episodes featuring industry leaders from around the globe. Until next time, stay curious and keep innovating.